Hey everyone, it's Josh with JE Ventachana Minis, Orlando, Florida. I'm going to do a little video on a rock tumbler, Harbor Freight Rock Tumbler that I'm going to put a modified basket to start cleaning some old bolts instead of blasting them individually in a media blaster. So the goal is to work smarter, not harder. So I'm going to hopefully get this thing to work good enough to clean off some of these old parts, bolts and stuff that will re-zinc for future projects. I don't want to have to be in the blast cabinet blasting these off, so I'll take a little effort and build a larger container to work in the rock tumbler from Harbor Freight and see if I can't get these things cleaned up better to help them come out with a better finish for re-zinking. So when I'm talking about rock tumbler, I'm talking about this one from Harbor Freight. It's got the dual drum barrels that are independent and limited in capacity. So I want to make one large barrel, and this model for this is was it 67632, which is still sold at Harbor Freight. I just happen to have this because I had my kids were doing rock tumbling, so I'm going to incorporate this into see if it can help me clean these bolts up much easier. So just making sure I wasn't reinventing the wheel, I went online and I was just seeing if there was something out there that was already pre-made. There was a couple things, but they were probably like 40 bucks, so I searched a little more and I found a guy on YouTube. His channel was Tree Top Flyer, and he's did a video for reloading brass for ammunition and guns, but he had a good idea, and everything that he had, he gave me a parts list and everything was at Lowe's, so I just went ahead with his design. So I'll give him credit for this. Basically you just need 4 inches of PVC pipe. This is maybe 2 feet of pipe that they sell. It comes with, you need to get an Endcap, which is going to close off one end, a pressure test cap, which a compression fitting. It comes with a wing nut, and you need a 3/8 inch nut to go on instead of the wing nut. But once you tighten this down, this rubber will seal on the other end, which will give you your access opening. Some Gorilla Glue, and then I had some scrap. This is like 3/4 inch PVC pipe that I'm going to cut in little pieces and glue them inside of my tube to create like a little channel or dog legs to help keep the bolts and items rotating and jumping around so that the abrasive can clean them more thoroughly. So first thing I'm going to do is get my dimension for my cut. I want to maximize the length of tube for this tumbler slot. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut, and I'll give you that dimension in a second. Tumbler is 9 3/8 inch, and that includes the extra material that's going to hang off as you utilize these caps. So cut your PVC to 9 3/8 inch in length, your 4 inch tube. So the last thing you need to cut are these little that 3/4 inch PVC pipe. Just cut them in half, and I have these about 1.5 to 2 inches in length, and then these are going to go inside the tube so that when these bolts are rotating, the stuff doesn't just stay on the bottom of the tube as it's rolling. These little nubs will move the bolts and lift them up and let them climb the wall and drop. So I'm going to glue those in with some Gorilla Glue. So I did glue up these little parts that go inside the tube here. I used the Gorilla Glue. I didn't really like it. I didn't think it would last. So I thought I'd grab some old PVC glue that I had, but it's all dried up. So the next thing I did was I had some extra L-angle channel, aluminum channel laying around, and some hardware, and I had a tapping bit. So I'm going to mechanically fasten this L-angle inside of one. I'm just going to run one strip countersink some holes, put the hardware through it, and mechanically fasten it. The reason I didn't go with the Gorilla Glue is I don't know, the bond, I didn't know how long it was going to last. PVC is kind of like a really closed off surface, so I don't know the adhesion of that glue, how long it would last on it. So with mechanical fastening, I'm not going to have to worry about this thing falling off. Alright, so that's what it's going to look like inside. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on, get this compression nut bolted down for it, and then I'll test run it to make sure it clears everything on this machine. It's one other thing to make note of when you're making your bar here or whatever you're going to use inside, is make sure you got enough room. This cap is like 2 inches deep, so make sure you don't bring it too close so that this can't close in there. So give it about a couple inches from the end of the PVC pipe. Alright, so everything checks out with the cut dimensions, rolling fine on the roller. I'm going to go ahead and grab some bunch of bolts. I'm going to use a metal oxide grit, and then we'll run it for a few hours, and we'll look at how effective it was at cleaning the bolts. Alright, so I got a pound of metal oxide, and I'm going to run this batch of number 8 bolts. Be a good test to see how some of these come out. These are pretty oxidized. Alright, so for the first test of this roller, I got a pound of the metal oxide in there and about 3 pounds of bolts. So we got 4 pounds in the basket container. It was turning, but it would skip around a little bit, so I just added some rubber bands to help it grab better on this roller that rotates, which it's doing a good job. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little areas that I put some cheap rubber bands on. I'll probably go get some thicker bands, but we're getting good rotation now. So I let it run for about 8 hours today. I ended up putting 2 pounds total of the oxide media, which actually is 2 cups worth of media in here with the bolts. But I did a really good job. There are some bolts that are a little stubborn. I think these were painted, so I could use on some of these bolts that maybe didn't come out as clean. I can go to my buffer and just put a 3M Scotch-Brite on it, and you know, just go over there and then do some buffing to get the remaining rust off. But pretty effective. I'd rather do this and be able to go do some other stuff while this thing is working for me, instead of having to hand blast each one of these bolts in a media blaster. I'll put a link in for all the different parts that I used to build this. You obviously need to have a Harbor Freight Tumbler, but I'll throw you links to, like at Lowe's, where I got most of my parts, to put this this basket together. So I'll do some more of these, you know, the remaining 8 bolts, and got all this extra little parts and pieces. I'll be curious to see how it works on like this rusty brake arm and some of these other parts. But like I said, that container is just not going to be big enough to do these axles, so those are still going to have to be done by hand. But anyways, please subscribe, put some comments down in the video if you have any other suggestions or tips for doing this. Okay guys, thanks.